Manchester United are facing a battle to keep Diogo Dalot from Real Madrid. More reports on Erik Ten Hag's future, and Chido Obi Martin has had the approval from the Premier League and is now considered a Manchester United player. This plus all the latest news and Manchester United transfer news that will keep you right up to date with everything. Welcome to Man United Review. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, please smash a like on the video. Let's jump straight into it. So let's kick off with the Diogo Dalot news. So it's been said, Manchester United are in danger of facing a battle to keep Diogo Dalot if arch rivals Liverpool succeed in convincing Trent Alexander-Arnold to sign a new contract, as it would result in La Liga heavyweights Real Madrid turning their attentions towards landing the Old Trafford star next year. Gimme Sports sources have revealed. Gimme Sports sources have been told that Diogo Dalot has been on Real Madrid's radar as a potential recruit over the last 18 months, as they are seeking a long-term successor to Dani Carvajal on the right side of their back line. Now, that was a report that came from Gimme Sport. Now, Gimme Sport have got, they've got credible journalists, not so credible journalists working for them. This actually came from one of their more credible journalists. And it's not the first time that we've heard stories or brought to you stories or news around Real Madrid potentially sniffing around Diogo Dalot. According to that report, they do want Trent Alexander-Arnold. But what the kind of gist of the story was that if Arnold signs a new contract at Liverpool, which obviously means that Real Madrid, or that I'd be staying in Liverpool and that Real Madrid won't get it, and they may then turn their attention to Diogo Dalot. I don't know where to kind of start with that. So for me, Diogo Dalot, he's 25 years old now, under contract until 2028. For me personally, I think even if Luke Shaw and Tyrone Malacia come back, I'd still be playing Diogo Dalot at left back. I love the way that he's playing at the moment, doing that inverting role. He's doing it brilliantly, coming into midfield. It's working quite nicely to stop the transitions against us. He's helping us build out from the back, and it's nice to have, rotation options with Malacia and Shaw coming back, don't get me wrong, because Dalot and Mazraoui can't play every game, but I actually think that Diogo Dalot's doing a really, really good job at left back, and I love Mazraoui on the right as well. So I do think that back five, the way that it is at the moment, should be the one going forward, but obviously you can't play them every game, so we do need Malacia and Shaw back as soon as possible because we have to rotate. There's so many games it's impossible for Dalot and Mazraoui to play every single game. But I actually rate the way that we're playing at the moment out from the back. It's the other side of the pitch that's causing us the most cause for concern at the moment. The fact we can't score goals. However, if we look into the future and you go, if we are going to go out and buy a top quality left back, which is what's apparently reported, Ineos want to get a young, first team left back, then does that mean that Diallo would then drop down the pecking order behind Mazraoui at right back, or would he be battling with Mazraoui? I mean, I do think we still need rotation options, but that comes the question that is, if would Diogo Dalot himself be happy to be a rotation player with Mazraoui, or would he maybe prefer to be like a first choice player at Real Madrid? It's a massive kind of conundrum, isn't it? Because there's not very many players that refuse to go to Real Madrid. And it's a great place for, I think it's a great place for us to be. If we did have Dalot and Mazraoui competing, and then a top quality left back and maybe Malacia or Harry Amis coming through on the left-hand side, I think that would be a great place for United and to have those kind of rotation options. But would it be right for Dalot is the question, I suppose. Personally, I would not be selling Diogo Dalot. I think he's been one of our most consistent performers over the last couple of years. He's just about to come into his prime. Like I said, 25 years old. His form and versatility, for me, are so important to the way we want to play, and I would keep him at all costs, personally. But if Real Madrid came calling, and, it's very hard for players to turn down going to Real Madrid, and the reality on that is we could turn a hefty profit on him because we signed him for around £19 million. I think it was in 2018. And he's probably one of the few players that we've got in the squad at the moment whose value has increased over that time, because I think he's a phenomenal player. I really, really rate Diogo Dalot. So personally, for me, I would not be selling him at all. However, you can see the temptation there. One, would Diogo Dalot want to stay, or would he want to go to Real Madrid? Nobody knows that. Secondly, it would be a bit of profit for United as well. And with the PSR rules, plus the fact we've got Mazraoui now at right back, and we're looking for a top quality left back as well. There are a few kind of concerns with that story. But for me personally, I wouldn't sell Diogo Dalot, as I've mentioned. But let me know what you think in the comments. Would you sell Dalot to Real Madrid if they come in with a big bid or a big offer? Or are you like me? Do you rate Dalot and want to keep him at all costs? Let me know what you think about that in the comments. And just on that as well, I seen this stats earlier, coincidentally, because obviously there's a lot of talk about Diogo Dalot at the moment, saying that he ranks number 1 for tackles. It's out of all fullbacks in the Premier League this season. First for tackles, first for it's possession adjusted tackles, which means if you've got more of the ball, but you make like a few tackles, it kind of skews the numbers off. So it kind of incorporates the fact that you might have more possession. He's first for that, first for key passes, and first for passes as well, which just kind of highlights to me how important I think Diogo Dalot is for us. So that is why I personally wouldn't be selling him. But let me know, as I mentioned, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Be interested to hear your opinions and your thoughts on Diogo Dalot. Let's move on to the manager news. So obviously, I don't necessarily think he's massively under pressure at the moment, although that kind of cooking pot seems to be boiling because of the results we've been getting over the last 2 results anyway. And not just the results, more like the question marks around the performances and the worries around the team. There've been a couple of updates. So Simon Stone, who's a really credible source, said that when given an interview on 5 Live, said it's unlikely that Ten Hag will be sacked at the next international break, but he could be, but hand could be forced if results don't improve. And then he said that Southgate only linked because he has a good relationship with Brailsford. Unlikely if Ten Hag gets sacked. That's positive for me. I mean, if you were to replace Ten Hag with Southgate, that would be a disaster, in my opinion. But Simon Stone saying that he's unlikely that anything's going to happen at the next international break, which is 2 weeks away, I think. But Ineos are kind of saying, well, if the results don't improve, that might force them to make the change, which is fair enough. And then the following points came from Laurie Whitwell, who did an interview yesterday. So the first, he said, if Ten Hag is sacked, the club would take a separate view on René Hack and Ruud van Nistelrooy. Now, he mentioned that because obviously they're players that Ten Hag himself has brought in as coaches. Laurie Whitwell did confirm that as well, saying that they weren't necessarily Ineos choices. They were Ten Hag. They were Ten Hag's coaches, which, I wonder what that does for the whole. Ineos have got Van Nistelrooy as a possible replacement for Ten Hag. I don't think that's the case, because it was Erik Ten Hag that apparently phoned Van Nistelrooy and was in that's his choice to go for him as an assistant coach. Laurie Whitwell also said Manchester United exhausted the manager options in May and June. There is no new compelling candidate yet, but he did say that was his opinion. So effectively saying that because we did the whole strategic review in the summer and reviewed and interviewed other managers, it's unlikely that there's no real outstanding candidates that have become available as of now. He also said that he thinks Ten Hag would be under huge pressure if he fails to win against Spurs, Porto and Villa. I agree. He said he would be surprised if Ten Hag loses his job at the next international break. So he's kind of saying the same as what Simon Stones was saying there. And then Laurie Whitwell also said he's had no rumblings about any successor. So obviously no plans at the moment. That suggests to me no plans at the moment to replace Ten Hag, because they're not talking to or looking at other managers, according to Laurie Whitwell. There was not a great urge to change things, so this is regarding the manager. So there's no real rush, and that the leadership want to see attacking football, but they are not telling Ten Hag how his team should play. So again, that kind of mentions, that goes back to what we were saying before around the Muppeteers, saying that they have an idea of how we want to play, but they're still allowing the manager to kind of implement their vision as well. It's just like a direction, right? We want to play, attacking football, and then the manager still has the kind of parameters, and obviously can still choose his coaches and stuff as well. So Obviously, if you add that to the report we brought to you last night, Romano saying that he's safer now and they're in no kind of rush. So it does look like, and then plus the Omar Barada story where they're kind of looking at this as like a 3-year project. It does seem like they're going to take their time and they're not going to rush into any decisions. And it's almost like, for me, I know Ten Hag's, obviously this is his 3rd season. So us as fans are kind of like, well, you know, we should be seeing something more on the pitch. I think there should be some kind of vision. And I do think we have improved this season in many areas, better on the ball, better pressing. I think we're really impressive with that. We're kind of controlling games a little bit more, just not for the 90 minutes. We're doing it for like one half and then the second half changes, or 60 minutes against Palace and then it all goes tits up. So there are kind of slow signs of progression. I do think we have improved this season with the style of play. Definitely from last season. I mean, it wouldn't be hard to improve from last season because last season was absolutely dog shit. But I do think there are clear signs of things. So there are things we are doing quite well. But it's almost like Ineos see it as year 1 for Ten Hag. So for us as fans, or me personally anyway, I'm like, well, it's his 3rd year. I want to see a bit more of this and I want to see a bit more of that. But it's almost like Ineos has said no, because they've just taken over. They see this as Ten Hag's 1st year, which is interesting, isn't it? Because so I think they are going to give him a little bit more time, be a bit patient. But obviously, if the results are, you know, don't improve, then they're going to be forced to make a decision, because ultimately it is a results industry, and we can't keep dropping points, and we can't be so adrift, and we can't you can't sustain that. So so at the moment, it looks like they're just going to be a bit patient, which is fair enough, I suppose. They have did a lot in the summer, the strategic review, backed him, give him a new contract, got him his staff and that in, got everything in place above him and bits as well. So I can kind of see why it would make sense. And I do think we need to be a bit patient with it as well. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. And then the final story I got for you. So yesterday the news broke from Steve Rawlinson for the Manchester Evening News, who's a decent source, saying that Chido Obi Martin could be confirmed sooner rather than later. And then lo and behold, Academy Scoop, really good source when it comes to all the reserves and youth players at United, saying that Manchester United have received formal communication from the Premier League that their prolonged ratification process for the transfer of Chido Obi Martin has reached completion. Romano confirmed that tweet as well, saying that Chido Obi Martin can now be considered new Manchester United player after Premier League approval. Premier League's 5-step process concluded this morning with positive feedback, as per Academy Scoop reports. Former Arsenal talent joins Man United. Medical and signature are already done. And then Romano had the following to say, that Chido Obi Martin has already done his medical, all documents signed. United received an official email from the Premier League today at 11 a.m. UK time that the deal has been approved. And he said that Mikel Arteta and the board pushed to keep Chido Obi, but he wanted change. It's not about money, but development and the space he can find at United. I'll summarise all this in a second. And the player himself has put some photos on his social media of him and Erik Cantona, of all people. What an absolute legend. So that deal, along with Lascelles, we had Lascelles a couple of days ago. We had James Overy a couple of days ago as well. These are all seen as very, very highly thought after, very talented youngsters. Like Lascelles has got a reputation on par with Obi Martin. When you read all the reports and you do a lot of like research like I have, he's very, very highly rated as well. Not quite as highly regarded as Obi Martin is, but 3 fantastic young players to come through. You know, Obi Martin's 17 in November, Danish. Very, very highly regarded striker, touted as the best academy product in the UK, wanted by multiple clubs. And as Romano said there, it's not about money, it's about a clear pathway to the first team that he sees at Manchester United above any other club, because he had a choice of clubs. Apparently a lot of German clubs were interested in it as well, no doubt Leverkusen, Dortmund. They like snapping up these sort of players when they're young and developing them and then selling them on. That's their kind of business model. But apparently he chose United because of the pathway to the first team, the clear vision, and rightly so though as well. You look at the players coming through, obviously Mainu, Garnacho, you know, Rashford's in the first team. He's had a clear pathway to the first team. We've got young players in and around the squad as well. So I do think if you're good enough at United, then you'll come through and you'll be given that opportunity, which is obviously what was important for Obi Martin. The guy was on fire. 20 appearances last season in the under-18 Premier League, 32 goals and 3 assists. So that's 35 goal contributions in 20 appearances. That is phenomenal for a 16-year-old. Apparently, as I mentioned, turned down big contracts from other clubs as he sees that pathway is key, and he's got massive potential. So it's going to be really exciting to see how he develops over the next year or two, because if he carries on that trajectory, he's just another young player that we've got added to a very, very top group of young players that we've already got at United. So massively exciting for me. Smash a like on the video if you feel the same way as well. And let me know your thoughts in the comments, not just on Obi Martin, but on everything discussed today, because that is you all up to date with the latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Don't forget to smash a like on the video on your way up. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I will see you in the next one.